when being alone feels just great, and when being lonely feels all wrong. Welcome to Senior Insights. My name is Cynthia, and today we're going to talk about the difference between being alone and being lonely, because there is a very big difference, and sometimes people get confused, and you can have a little bit of each and not always be lonely, but sometimes you're lonely. So we're going to delve into those things. Loneliness is actually the evil twin of being alone. It is a perceived feeling of being alone, of being isolated, being invisible. People don't pay attention to you. They don't notice you. They don't notice how beautiful you are. They don't acknowledge you. And this does not feel good. It feels very unpleasant. Remember that movie that Tom Hanks was in? It was called Castaways. And he adopted a volleyball, and he gave it a name. I wish I could remember the name, but that volleyball became his friend. He would talk to him. He would talk to him as if he was his friend. And that was because Tom was experiencing extreme loneliness on this island and quite a bit of despair, because feeling that he'd never get off of that island. So it's like when you yell at Netflix because they asked you if you want to continue watching the movie, or you get irritable when somebody asks you like a simple question, or you talk to your houseplants and tell them your troubles instead of your friend. It's just a miserable, unhappy way of feeling about a lot of things. Being alone and being solo. Let's talk about some of the characteristics, some of the things that are great about being alone and being solo. Now, I live alone. I wasn't always alone. My husband passed away 11 years ago, and I had a really hard time with loneliness and missing him and all that, and I tried the dating route, and I did it for about 10 years, and I found that that was not a thing that I wanted to continue doing. Someday I'll tell you about that. It's not a bad thing. It was another life experience that I learned some lessons from, and that person is still my friend, although we're not a thing, boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. Can you imagine talking about boyfriend and girlfriend when you're 76 years old? It's very strange. Anyway, when I was trying to think about the benefits of being solo and being alone and living alone, there are many. I'm very comfortable living alone. I like it. I can do what I want, when I want, and how I want. So I was trying to, I was brainstorming, and I'm saying, well, why don't you go from room to room and share with them your thoughts on what the benefits of being alone are. Well, I said, let's start in the bedroom. Okay, so in the bedroom, you have the whole bed. If you snore, which I do, and I do these other things like, so I've been told by people that have shared my bed. So you can do that. You're not disturbing anyone. It's not bothering anyone. You can roll over when you want. You can shut the light off when you want without being concerned about disturbing someone. You can turn the page in your book when you want to without feeling disturbed. You don't get hit with an elbow in the middle of the night. So those are some of the things that I feel are positive things about living alone and living solo. The bathroom. Well, you can roll the toilet paper any way you want. You can put up the seat or close the seat, whatever you want. You can put a bidet in your toilet or not. You can take a shower. You can sit on the toilet and leave the door open because you have a nice view from your toilet. You don't have to worry about odors. You don't have to worry about any of those things. You can walk naked in your house from the bathroom to the bedroom if you choose. Kitchen. You can eat what you want You can eat it at 11 in the morning. You can eat it at 2 a.m. You can eat it whenever you want. You can cook or you don't have to cook. I mean, if you don't like cooking, like I don't really like cooking, then I can maybe have leftovers and I don't have to worry about someone else saying that I can't stand leftovers. Why can't we have something else? So I'm not responsible for cooking someone else their meals, making sure they get proper nutrition. If I don't want to get proper nutrition or choose not to eat correctly, I can not eat correctly. I can eat the snacks I want. If I don't have to feel guilty if I'm eating some potato chips or my famous candy because somebody's watching me. Or like my daughter when she suggested that I shouldn't be drinking Diet Coke because it was dementia juice. So then I switched to regular Coke, and she suggested that I'd be pre-diabetic if I kept drinking those. But I can choose. I am free to choose. I chose to listen to her. But then the living room, you can watch TV, whatever you want. You can have it as loud as you want, or you can watch it on mute. You can have the closed captions on, or you don't have to have the closed captions on, whatever you're comfortable with. I like closed captions. I have friends who can't read them fast enough, so they prefer no closed captions. But you can do that. You can watch the shows you want. You can watch the shows on YouTube that you want. You can pause the movie when you want and you want to go get a snack or something. So those are all the things that you can do, as I'm thinking about the living room. And then I'm sitting and I'm doing a video at my computer. I can use my computer whenever I want. When I had a friend who would come over and stay for a weekend, I couldn't get near my computer. And it used to irritate me, and I used to say, well, that's my computer, so all of these things that I'm talking about, I think, are tremendous assets of being alone. But you can be lonely when you're alone, and I'll share with you times when I'm lonely. I wish my kids lived closer to me. I wish that they could just drop in. They don't live that close to me, although they all live in Maine, but they're several hours away. Maine is a large state, so one of them is 2.5 hours away, one of them is over an hour away, and one of them is almost an hour away. It's not like they can jump in the car and just drop in. They all have children. They all have full-time jobs. But sometimes I just feel lonely. I feel like I've been abandoned here and nobody cares. And so sometimes I get into pity parties and feeling lonely. But it passes, or I hear from them, or we have a family get-together or something, and it's gone. But I think that that's human nature, for you to feel lonely and to feel like, you were the most important person in your children's lives when you aren't anymore. I'm not saying that you're not important, but you're not the be-all, end-all. So basically, what being alone and being solo is doing things on your own, feeling comfortable going to a restaurant when you're alone, and basically doing whatever you want. There's a lot of things on YouTube with solo women doing RV trips. And I was into watching that for a while, and there's a part of me that is kind of appealing. Of course, I couldn't do it now at this age, although there is a woman who's 80 years old and she's living in her car. Well, that's not for me, but I could see living in a nice RV. I used to own an RV park, a campground, and there were a lot of people, we used to call them snowbirds, that would come up to the campground and stay for the whole summer season, and then they'd go back to Florida or down south or wherever they went for the winter. So I thought that lifestyle was kind of appealing, but there are some women who actually travel all over the country in a little van all by themselves. It's interesting. I think it's great that they have the courage to do that, but I couldn't do that. But anyway, here I go. I'm digressing. So if you take loneliness and you take being alone and you put all the extremes and you put them all in a side by side, there are some things that will overlap. Sometimes you'll be lonely. Sometimes you won't be lonely. Sometimes you'll feel alone. Sometimes you'll feel invisible. So you want to get those things back into some kind of perspective where you can, if you're alone and you love being alone, it's not necessarily healthy to not ever go out or ever do anything or ever relate to other people. That's a whole other condition called agoraphobia or something like that. So you have to have some human connection with people. Even though you feel as though you don't really need it, it's extremely important. If for no other reason, I notice myself that my interest in going out diminishes practically every week. I don't feel like I need to go out, but I make myself go out to the women's group. I make myself go out to my friend's place. I make the most of when I go outside. So if you are lonely, on the other hand, you have got to try and figure out a way to deal with that loneliness by reaching out to people, maybe reaching out to those relatives that you feel don't pay any attention to you and they've forgotten about you and they've isolated you. I have a friend who tells me all the time when I'm complaining that I don't get enough attention from my kids. She said, well, the phone works both ways. Yeah, it does. So maybe you can consider that. When you're feeling like you're totally invisible, go on YouTube, make a YouTube video. You're not invisible there. Even if you have a few minimum viewers, you're still not invisible. Just figure out kinds of things that you can do. Reach out to other people. All that traditional stuff. Volunteer, read, join a book club if you read, that sort of thing. So what you want to do is you want to get more, try and force yourself to do more normal activities that involve other people and try and eliminate that isolated feeling. Now, I also mentioned that you may need to go to a doctor and get some medication, or you may need to join a group therapy session, or you might need a counselor, or you just might need to foster a friendship with somebody. Okay, I think that this is plenty to talk about and for you to think about. I'd like you to think about it. I don't want you to be lonely. I don't want you to be lonely. Tune in to me every morning and have a cup of coffee with me, and we'll be lonely together. So, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for liking it and subscribing to it. Write a comment if you can. Are you lonely? Are you alone? Do you feel alone? Do you feel alone even though you have a spouse or a partner or whatever? Let us know. No judgment here. We're all different. We're all unique. We all like different things.